Well, it's a beautiful Sunday morning in a beautiful place that has only remained a beautiful place because of some very strict restrictions on going ashore and what you can do while you're here. For all of that, if you can find a way to work within it, there's almost no place better to be. So today's question is, how do you make it work? How do you come to a beautiful place like this where you can't go ashore and buy anything or go ashore and get rid of anything and manage to spend a fair amount of time here and go away with just pleasant memories of the place? That's what we'll talk about a little bit today. This is what I'll call our trash talk. No, I don't mean trash talk as in the latest breakdown of a bromance, bad-mouthing. I mean literally trash talk. Today's trash will focus on the domestic kitchen sort of trash mostly. Later we'll discuss further the other end of the consumption spectrum trash, but I don't think we know each other that well just yet. So here you have this pollution placard that our Coast Guard requires us to post. Basically, this is an acknowledgement that ignorance of the law is no excuse, and this will tell you what you can and can't throw into the ocean. Good information, pretty common sense. But here on Charis, there's a much simpler restriction. We don't have a water maker, and as a result, I installed a boat-wide pressure saltwater system. And so the bottom line is, don't poop where you eat, I guess. And right here at the galley tap, that's seawater. And the way that I managed to extend my freshwater capacity is by using seawater for most washing dishes and that sort of thing, and then just finishing with a quick freshwater rinse. So it serves to reason that if you're going to use the water, the ocean around you to wash your dishes, you really don't want to put anything into it that you wouldn't eat. And that's the basic rule. So the placard is the law. The saltwater washdown system provides the real rule. So what do you do with your trash? You go to a place, and really the last thing you want to do to a place that welcomes you as a guest is dump a big bag of garbage on them and essentially say, thanks for the invite, here's my garbage, see you later. That's not the best way to make yourself welcome. And the reality is that if you live on a boat, you are pretty much a perpetual guest wherever you go. And I think that it's helpful if you think about that and you think about the ways that you can leave a clean wake. And so those are some of the things that I'm going to discuss today, and just some of the devices that make that all possible. The first thing that we do, depending on how long I'm going to be away, this is just a 2-day outing. So what I've done here is, you see a small bag that's actually a thin film vegetable bag repurposed, suspended within a larger bag. This is a repurposed grocery bag. And inside the small bag will go anything that might get stinky. And at the end of the day, the small bag will be tied and sealed and dropped into the large bag. So essentially all I'm doing is isolating individual days worth of stinky trash. And that works quite well. Now I can also suspend underneath this lower companionway step another bag, which again, if I'm away long enough and I want to separate recyclables, bottles and cans and such, they would actually go in a bag hanging beneath that step. For 2 days worth of travel, that's not really necessary. The next thing that helps quite a lot if I'm going to be away for a while is this little kitchen compost bucket. These are kind of neat. You can buy them in any kitchenware store. They have a charcoal filter inside the lid, and essentially that just allows you to put your kitchen compost in there and have it not stink. You know, let's not kid ourselves. You're not going to do much composting in 2 or 3 days, but if you can store your food waste separately from your solid trash waste, then, you know, it's several days worth of food waste can go in that bucket. When you get to where you're going, the goal here is to walk ashore with the smallest possible, tiniest possible bag that you can. And that's kind of what we achieve here. The other thing that makes this all work is the wood stove. And this will be featured in a separate video, but the one feature that I want to point out of the wood stove is its potential use as a trash disposal. So essentially, the first level of separation of waste, kitchen waste, household waste, is anything burnable. Any paper goes into the wood stove. And when the wind is going to blow away from the other boats, and it's not going to offend anyone, when the wind is blowing correctly, or it's not just too darn hot, we just put a match to that, and up goes what would be the equivalent of a fair size trash bag full of paper waste. Now in the head, you'll see the one I call Dr. Pooh Man Chew. We'll just leave that joke right there. Let's just say that if you want people not to put certain things in the marine head, and in this case with a composting head, that means pretty much anything, what you need to do is provide someplace else to put them. And that, in this case, is a covered wastebasket. And bordering on TMI here, but where possible and where I won't offend anybody downwind, spoiler alert, don't anchor downwind of Charis, that paper can go in the wood stove and be turned into a relatively small amount of ash. By the way, just as an extension footnote, the relatively small amount of ash from the wood stove is then placed in a separate container, and it becomes part of the sawdust, ash, peat, moss, whatever I can get my hands on, carbon mix that goes into the composting head and essentially acts as a carbon media / desiccant. The wood stove ash has a tendency to reduce the amount of odor that emanates on deck from the air fan system that ventilates the head. So, pro tip, you can get rid of your toilet paper, you can get rid of your household paper, you can turn it into ash, and then you can use it to help compost. And then likewise in the forward cabin. The bottom line is, if you provide a place where you want waste to be put, it'll probably not be put someplace you didn't want it. And that's the objective here. Reduce to the maximum extent possible. And then the last part of this plan, we'll go into the chili bin, and I will show you that the one thing that is constant is that any meat products that come on board are immediately ashore moved from their styrofoam and plastic trays and then vacuum sealed. Now, I've been taken to task for this because, yes, it is virgin plastic that you're using for the vacuum seal process. But again, there are trade-offs. I think it's probably a mistake to think that you are going to get to a point where you just never use any plastics in this world, never use any lithium batteries. There's certain things that you can achieve and certain ones that you can't. In this case, that reduction produces a tremendous reduction in the amount of solid waste that I have to carry ashore in a place that I'm a guest, or more of a guest than normal. So these are just a few of the ideas, a few of the things that have worked well for me. Everyone will have their own suggestions and ideas. I guess mostly this is a start for discussion about what works for you. How do you deal with the refuse on your boat? What do you do to get rid of it? And how do you minimize the impact that your arrival and presence in a place has? Thanks for stopping by, and look forward to the discussion.